The air hung heavy and still, as if time itself had paused to take a breath. A blanket of warmth enveloped outer London, wrapping the city in a golden embrace as the sun dipped below the horizon. The summer nights were usually a time for quiet relaxation, a gentle reprieve from the day's heat. Families would gather on porches, sharing stories and laughter, while the scent of blooming flowers filled the air. This summer, however, held a different kind of stillness. It was a stillness that felt unnatural, as if the very essence of the night had shifted. An uneasy quiet had settled upon the residents. They peered out from behind curtains, their faces etched with worry and confusion, sensing that something was amiss. Fear, intangible and sharp, lurked in the shadows. It was a fear that crept into the hearts of the people, making them wary of the darkness that now seemed to hold secrets. The streets, usually alive with the sounds of children playing and neighbours chatting, were eerily deserted. The playground stood empty, swings swaying gently in the breeze, as if haunted by the ghosts of happier times. The laughter and chatter had been replaced by a tense silence, punctuated only by the distant hum of traffic. It was a silence that seemed to grow louder with each passing moment, pressing down on the city like a weight. Even the birds seemed to sing in hushed tones, their melodies laced with an unusual anxiety. Their songs, once a cheerful backdrop to the evening, now carried a note of foreboding. The nights were longer now, stretching into the quiet hours. The darkness seemed to linger, reluctant to give way to the dawn, as if it had something to hide. The darkness seemed deeper, more profound, hiding something unknown and menacing. It was a darkness that seemed to breathe, to pulse with a life of its own, filling the night with an unspoken dread. It was in this unsettling stillness, under the oppressive warmth of the summer nights, that the stories began. Stories that whispered through the streets, carried on the wind and settled into the minds of the people. Stories whispered in hushed tones, stories of a phantom, a creature of the night, a being that moved through the shadows, unseen but felt, leaving a trail of fear in its wake. The tales grew with each retelling, feeding the collective unease, until the very air seemed to vibrate with the tension of the unknown. Aaron, a man of logic and reason, scoffed at the rumours. He dismissed them as overactive imaginations fuelled by the unusual heat. A panther in London? Preposterous, he had declared to his mates at the pub. But deep down, a sliver of doubt lingered in his mind. One night, walking home through the park, his scepticism was brutally shattered. The air, thick with the scent of blooming night jasmine, suddenly turned frigid. The hairs on his neck stood on end. A low growl, guttural and primal, reverberated through the air. Frozen in place, he felt his breath catch in his throat. His heart pounded a frantic rhythm against his ribs. Slowly, he turned towards the source of the sound. Two eyes, twin points of emerald fire, pierced the darkness, fixing him in their unwavering gaze. Ellie, a creature of habit, took her faithful Labrador, Buster, for their nightly walk in the park. The familiar route, usually a source of comfort, now filled her with unease. The recent stories had planted a seed of fear in her heart. As they rounded a bend in the path, Buster stiffened, a low growl rumbling in his chest. Ellie's grip tightened on the leash, her heart hammering against her ribs. A shiver, despite the warmth of the night, ran down her spine. A rustle in the bushes, too heavy to be a bird, too deliberate to be the wind, confirmed her fears. Two eyes, gleaming with an eerie luminescence, appeared in the undergrowth. The creature moved with a sinuous grace that was both mesmerizing and terrifying. Section 4, Liam's Ordeal Garage of Fear. This is a tale that will make your heart race and your skin crawl. Liam, a mechanic at the local garage, was known for his practical nature. He was the kind of man who believed in what he could see and touch, a man of logic and reason. He scoffed at the idea of a phantom panther, attributing the sightings to stray dogs and overactive imaginations. To him, the stories were nothing more than urban legends, tales spun to entertain or frighten. One late night, while closing up the garage, his skepticism was put to the test. The night was unusually quiet, the kind of silence that makes you feel like you're being watched. The clang of the metal shutter echoed in the silence of the deserted street. It was a sound that usually brought comfort, signaling the end of a long day, but tonight it felt ominous. As he turned to lock up, a movement in the shadows across the road caught his eye. His blood ran cold. It was as if the darkness itself had come alive. A large feline silhouette stalked silently across the street, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The creature moved with a grace that was both beautiful and terrifying. Trapped inside the garage, Liam watched in horror as the creature approached, its massive paws soundless on the asphalt. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest, each beat echoing in his ears. The air grew thick with a musky, primal scent. It was a smell that spoke of ancient forests and untamed wilderness, a scent that didn't belong in the middle of a city. He fumbled for his phone, his fingers trembling as he dialed for help. Each second felt like an eternity as he waited for someone to answer, praying that he wasn't imagining things, that he wasn't losing his mind. Section 5. Maya's Scars, a brush with the beast. Maya, a young photographer, was drawn to the stories of the panther. Armed with her camera and a thirst for adventure, she ventured into the park late one night, hoping for a glimpse of the elusive creature. Her reckless curiosity led her deep into the heart of the park, where the shadows were deepest and the silence was most profound. A twig snapped under her foot, the sound deafening in the stillness. Two eyes, glowing like embers in the darkness, snapped open. The creature was upon her before she could even scream. She felt a searing pain shoot up her arm as claws, razor-sharp and strong, raked across her flesh. The creature, startled by her scream, melted back into the darkness as quickly as it had appeared. Section 6. Whispers in the Wind, the Aftermath. The attacks left their mark, not just on the victims, but on the community as a whole. The once peaceful and serene neighborhood was now a place of anxiety and fear. Parents held their children closer, and the laughter that once filled the parks was replaced by nervous glances and hushed conversations. The stories, once whispered in hushed tones, were now shouted from the rooftops. Community meetings were held almost daily, with residents voicing their fears and demanding action. Posters warning about the panther were plastered on every available surface, a constant reminder of the lurking danger. The Phantom Panther of Outer London, as the media dubbed it, became a sensation. News outlets from across the country descended upon the small community, eager to capture the story of the mysterious beast. Headlines screamed of terror and intrigue, and the panther became a symbol of fear and fascination. Aaron, still haunted by the encounter, avoided the park, his usual jovial demeanor replaced by a nervous tension. He found it difficult to sleep, his dreams plagued by the memory of the panther's glowing eyes. The park, once a place of joy and relaxation, had become a source of dread. Ellie, her walks now restricted to daylight hours, couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the primal fear etched deep within her. She found herself constantly looking over her shoulder, her heart racing at the slightest sound. The freedom she once felt on her walks was now overshadowed by a lingering sense of unease. Liam, his practical nature shaken to the core, double-checked the locks at the garage every night, the image of the glowing eyes forever imprinted in his mind. He had always prided himself on being rational and level-headed, but the encounter had left him questioning everything he thought he knew about the world. Maya, her adventurous spirit dampened but not extinguished, carried the physical and emotional scars of her encounter, a constant reminder of the night she came face to face with the beast. She often found herself lost in thought, replaying the events of that night over and over in her mind. The scars on her body were a testament to her bravery, but they also served as a reminder of the fragility of life. The summer wore on, the heat unrelenting, mirroring the burning fear that now gripped the community. The oppressive heat seemed to amplify the tension, making every day feel like a struggle. People sought refuge indoors, the once bustling streets now eerily quiet. The Phantom Panther, a creature of myth and fear, continued to stalk the nights, its presence felt in every shadow, every rustle of leaves, every moment of unsettling silence. The nights were the worst, with every creak and groan of the house sending shivers down spines. The panther had become a ghostly figure, haunting the dreams and waking moments of the community. The summer of fear was far from over. The community remained on edge, their lives forever changed by the presence of the Phantom Panther. The sense of normalcy they once took for granted seemed like a distant memory, replaced by a constant state of vigilance and fear. The aftermath of the attacks had left